legend will be born.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashtongleckman and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am super excited to be talking about a subject I have just been insanely excited about for at least a year and a half now, which is the upcoming Dune film. So the score is composed by Hans Zimmer. The film is directed by Denis Villeneuve, who previously directed Sicario and Blade Runner 2049 and Arrival, a super talented French director, and he's bringing everything he's done so far and pretty much putting it all into one incredible film from what it looks like. Just recently they've released a 10-minute preview in IMAX of the first 10 minutes of the film, and from what we can tell from all of the sources, it's a remarkable opening sequence. The sets are massive, the visual effects are massive. Greg Fraser's cinematography is just out of this world. Performances by this sort of all-star cast, Timothée Chalamet, Stellan Skarsgård as the Baron, by the way, which looks incredible and menacing and scary in the trailer. We of course have Jason Momoa and Rebecca Ferguson. Just a crazy huge cast, and we can see just from the trailers that we've gotten so far how modern and fascinating this movie looks just in terms of the technical and creative side of it. And we know from Blade Runner 2049, no director nowadays is better at aesthetic and creativity and creating a visual look than Denis Villeneuve. He just did a remarkable job, and I just cannot wait to see this movie. We got our first listen to Hans Zimmer's score today, which is why I wanted to come on here and talk about it. So first of all, just a little bit about the creation of the Dune score. So basically the creation of this film was a little bit tricky because of COVID-19. So last year the film had to be delayed a full year. So now we're just getting it. But last November the film was basically done. So what I'm guessing is over the past year, because they've had all this time, they've probably been, fine-tuning visual effects. They've probably gone back to the music and redone sequences, and they probably used the time wisely. But what we heard from Hans last year is he was recording musicians in various places around the world. So we have Australia, we have London, and of course we have the complication that Denis, the director, who usually with Hans is in the same room as him, having meetings in person, he was in Montreal because of COVID. So they were not face-to-face for a good portion of the sessions. And so Hans was doing a lot of the recording remotely through what he called in like an interview like a professional version of Skype, which is just sort of like a lower lagged version of Skype, which allowed him to record with musicians sort of with less delay over the interwebs. But from what we can hear so far, it is a super sound design driven score with a lot of power, a lot of presence. I think the best way to describe Hans's music on this, from what we've heard so far, is it very much echoes the visual look of the film. It's vast, it's wide, it's desolate. There's a lot of elements of the desert. Specifically in the track Paul's Dream, we have all of these sort of rattly synth sounds at the bottom, which sort of for me echo, the sandworm in many ways. We have the vocals, which are very powerful and very present. From the people that saw the opening 10 minutes of the film, he's using the vocals very often. So we have, for example, these whispery voices that are at the bottom of the mix, but then we also have these very powerful sort of ethnic vocals which come up above the texture a lot. Specifically in the track Paul's Dream. So he's doing a lot of that. We have a really strong sort of low-end presence in this score, which I think is just part of, we saw it in Blade Runner 2049. It's just that vast, epic scope that I think we're all expecting. Now, because he was recording remotely, from what we know, he wasn't recording with a massive 120-piece orchestra like he's done previously. He's probably doing the score much more like Frost Nixon, which was a lot, in the box, working with, soloists, and bringing it all together in the end. So whoever was mixing the score probably had a lot of work to do to bring all these parts together. The film, of course, is 2.5 hours long, so there is a ton of music to be written. So what Hans often likes to do is he creates these suites, which, if you've heard his suites, for example, for Man of Steel, they're just super, super detailed pieces of music, which basically lays all the groundwork for the the sort of style of the score, the themes of the score, what is the main instruments that are used in the score, and then he works with his team to sort of bring that to life and actually do the technical scoring work. So a few people that are involved with that are Andrew Kaczynski, who has worked with Hans on various scores. The last time he worked with Hans was Dunkirk, actually. He also worked on all the Dark Knight movies. So other than that, we have Steve Mazzaro, which is Hans's sort of main assistant. He now has his own assistant, but he is super involved in the making of this score, as well as David Fleming. So David Fleming, if you guys don't know him, he started working, I believe, with Bleeding Fingers. He worked on Blue Planet. But he's become a super, super important figure in sort of the remote control productions, Hans Zimmer sort of world. And he's done some remarkable work on Dark Phoenix, for example. And from what I know, he's done a lot of great work on Dune. So all of these things are going to be coming together to create a score that is both wide in scope, but also with Dune, we're dealing with a lot of really important, interesting character stories with Paul and with this sort of villainous world of the Baron. So he's going to be, I think, diving a lot into his own recollections of reading the books of Frank Herbert's world and bringing that all together to create one sort of big experience. And I can't wait to sort of break it down and take a look at all the things he's doing. In addition to all those things, we also have sound design. I'm going to try to pronounce his name, but I'm so sorry for all of the German speakers. Kevin Schroeder, I believe. So he is a German sound designer who's worked with Hans on Bond 25. So he's done some really interesting sounds, I think, on this score, and he's also done a lot of stuff for trailers. So he's going to be bringing in a lot of his mastery, similar to, you know, what we've seen with Howard Scar in the Dark Knight films, bringing that into this score, which I think really helped to give it its own signature sound. As we know, with Hans Zimmer scores, what he tends to do at the beginning is create a brand new batch of original sounds, which, again, gives the score its own flair compared to other things that Hans has done in the past. And I think that's what they did on Dune. So there's a lot of new sort of instruments that were created specifically for this film. Most likely those things will go away for future Zimmer projects. So I think that's what gives it its unique flair. In terms of the actual sort of musical material, from what we can tell in Paul's Dream, he's using a lot of sort of melodic minors and that kind of thing. And then the vocals come in and it's sort of like a, you know, so we have this sort of, they call this the devil's interval, because it has that sort of dissonance. But in this regard, it really helps to create the tone of the sort of desert world of Dune. So there's going to be a lot of stuff to discuss with Dune, of course, just because of how much music there is. And there's going to be, I think, another Dune film after this one. This is only part one. So I cannot wait to see what happens. Let me know what you guys think of the score down below from what we've heard so far. And definitely expect some material on the channel relating to Dune for the release in October. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and look forward to seeing you guys next time.